Destiny as a series had a bit of a rough start, the vanilla experience being lackluster in some areas. Expansions tried to improve upon these flaws to various degrees of success. Now with Destiny 2, it seems that Bungie are trying to perfect their game, but have they succeeded? I'm Darcblade, and this is our video review of Destiny 2. Developed by Bungie and published by Activision, Destiny 2 was released in September 2017 for consoles, with the PC getting a release later in October 2017. The new IP from Bungie had a bit of a dodgy start with the original Destiny. It came with very mixed reviews and reactions. They eventually released various expansions, and while the Taken King and Rise of Iron slightly improved areas of Destiny, a second game was bound to be released. Destiny 2 continues in the same vein as the original Destiny, but how does it improve on the experience? Let's find out. As always with these reviews, I try to steer clear of major story spoilers. Destiny 2's story expands on what has already been established in Destiny 1 and its expansions. You play as a character-created Guardian. These Guardians have been chosen by the Traveler, a mysterious sphere that sits next to Earth's last city. The Traveler provides Guardians with light, to which they can perform incredible feats. This is basically how they are able to perform abilities and super moves, as well as respawn. As one of the Travelers chosen, you defend the solar system and Earth from encroaching enemies. These can vary, but the main enemy factions are Fallen Vex, Taken, Hive, and most prominently in Destiny 2, the Cabal. Interestingly enough, the Guardians you created in Destiny 1 do carry over. However, none of your gear, light levels, emotes and such don't. It's really only your character design that is transferred. The only main difference for having a character carried over is that you'll occasionally get different dialogue to a brand new created character. Destiny 2 starts off with the Red Legion Cabal making a gigantic assault on the last city. Things go incredibly wrong when the Cabal, led by the game's main antagonist Ghaul, manage to cut off the light from Guardians. This makes them weaker and unable to respawn. Ghaul's motives revolve around taking the light for himself and his legion. What follows is a little bit of a rollercoaster of a ride as you try to get back your light, stop Ghaul, save the city, and save the Traveler. Whilst your Guardian is a silent protagonist, the majority of the story is told through interactions made through your Ghost, these robotic constructs that are linked to the Guardians via the Traveler, and the three main Vanguard leaders, Cade 6, Zavala, and Ikora. These three, along with your Ghost, and a few other supporting cast members, help involve you in the story. That being said though, the story is made less special by the fact that it is trying to make you feel like you are the only Guardian experiencing the story events, when in actual fact, every player is. With Destiny 2 being a shared world experience, it does break the immersion of the story knowing that everyone has done the same thing, and that you are really not as special as the story makes out. This is a shame, but one of the areas that MMOs and shared world games have yet to perfect. The main improvements that Destiny 2 brings to the table in terms of story is that we get given more character thanks to the Ghost and Vanguards. Before, in the original Destiny, this was minimal, but it was slightly improved upon in expansions. Also gone is the awful Grimoire card system. Before, to learn about lore and the world of Destiny, you had to go to an external website after earning cards in-game. Now, pretty much all the lore is included in-game via weapons and item descriptions. While it's commendable that Bungie have implemented a nice and condensed story into Destiny 2, it really should have been there for Destiny 1. Nonetheless though, it was enjoyable while it lasted, but it also felt like just a chapter in a larger, ever-growing story. Destiny 2 is a shared world first-person shooter with mild RPG elements. The gameplay is the area of Destiny 1 where things felt solid, and the same could be said for Destiny 2. The shooting and gunplay is smooth, responsive, and is easily the best part of the game. Weapons though are now divided up differently. You have kinetic weapons, which are your basic weapons, you have energy weapons, which are exactly the same as your kinetic ones, but have one of three elements attached to them, and finally you have power weapons, which are the strongest weapons, but rarer. Returning fans from Destiny 1 will be surprised to find that sniper rifles, fusion rifles, and shotguns have all been moved to the power weapon category. Of course, most of the actions will be done by shooting, but each of the Guardians have access to one of three subclasses. These are different depending on what class you pick at the start. For the Titans, you have access to the Striker, an arc-wielding close combat focused class, the Sunbreaker, which is a long-range solar-based class, and the new Sentinel, which replaces the Defender Titan of Destiny 1. This is a void-based class that uses a shield a la Captain America to deal damage. Then you have the Hunters, who have access to the solar-based hard-hitting Gunslinger, the support-based void class, the Night Stalker, and the new Arc Strider, which replaces the Blade Dancer. This works much the same as the Blade Dancer, but has more utility and options. Finally, there are the Warlocks, who have a choice of the Voidwalker, which is again another hard-hitting Void class, the Stormcaller, which utilises Arc Energy to deal damage as well as help their team, and finally the new Darcblade, which replaces the Sunsinger class. The Darcblade makes use of a solar sword to rain down fire on their foes. Well, for me, the subclasses have always been the main draw of Destiny. In Destiny 2, the subclasses feel like they've been simplified. You have access to grenade abilities, supers, melee attacks, after which it's a case of following one of two paths, rather than mixing up passives like you could in the first game. One area that has been improved with Destiny 2 in regards to classes is that each have been given a trait ability. For example, the Titans can now construct a temporary wall to take cover behind, Warlocks can cast a healing circle where it heals everyone in there, and Hunters have a dodge mechanic that can instantly reload their weapon. These add a little bit more variety to the classes in the game. Enemies remain pretty much unchanged in Destiny 2, you still fight the same factions as you did in Destiny 1. Whilst yes, one or two enemies have been added to each faction, or some of the enemy models have been slightly updated, it's nonetheless very similar to what we've already experienced. As I mentioned, Destiny 2 has RPG and MMO elements. You can divide the game into PvE, or player versus environment content, and PvP, or player versus player content. I will go over the PvP elements in a minute, but PvE is varied. A lot of the PvE elements that were in the original Destiny return. These include story missions, strikes, which are basically dungeons, patrols, public events, nightfalls, lost sectors, which are like mini dungeons, and then finally raids. Each are a fun distraction, with my personal favourite being the new public events. Public events in Destiny 2 are a lot more streamlined. For example, you can see on the map when one will show up and how long it will take before it spawns. This is also just an example of how little things implemented have added to the quality of life for Destiny 2. Things are not all improved though. For example, at the moment there are no heroic strikes. These were slightly harder versions that allowed you to farm for specific loot. That being said though, another area of PvE I personally appreciate is flashpoints. These are weekly tasks that involve public events, after which you are rewarded with high level loot. These can be done weekly and really help if you're a solo player in getting high gear. The last area I want to cover is the raid. Raiding has always been hit and miss with Destiny. Sometimes it can be the best experience you can have with the game, whilst other raids just leave a sour taste in your mouth as you argue with friends about how to get an encounter done. With Destiny 2, I didn't find the raid too hard, but that was because I was playing with experienced players who knew how each other worked and played. Without that though, the raid in Destiny 2, the Leviathan, could be considered one of the most convoluted raids in any game. Overly complicated and with no real character, and to be honest, only one real boss enemy. It was a disappointment. Loot has always been a big draw of Destiny, and with Destiny 2, Bungie have made it easier to grind for loot. While elitists and hardcore players may dislike this, for others, those without much time, or maybe not enough friends, or have something like anxiety issues, this could be considered a good thing. You can pretty much even reach the high levels solo. This is all thanks to weekly events, the much improved upon clan system, and more. In Destiny 2 you will have your Guardians leveling up as you play through the story, starting at 1 and ending at 20. After which, much like Destiny 1, you will then acquire gear to increase your power levels in order to take on the harder content Destiny 2 has to offer. This could be considered the main and end game content drive, to get that better gear to take on the harder activities like raids and nightfalls. The game's PvE elements are divided into planets and moons across the solar system, each giving us a unique environment to take on PvE tasks. Whilst the new areas are pleasing to the eye, it would have been nice to include them on top of the existing areas in Destiny 1. This could have given us more variety and even scratched that nostalgia itch. Bungie could have even updated the old areas to match what was happening with the Cabal invasion. Now this is the part of the review where I would normally talk about the multiplayer aspects, but all aspects of Destiny 2 can be taken on with friends. Most tasks can be taken on with a group of 3, with some allowing you more. With that in mind, I now use this to cover the PvP elements of Destiny 2. PvP has teams of Guardians fighting one another with their abilities and weapons. They compete over various first-person shooter game modes such as Team Deathmatch or Control. Gear is also balanced out for the most part to bring an even playing field. They have reduced the size of PvP matches from 6v6 to 4v4. This appears to be focusing on more intense firefights. While this has pleased some, it has upset others. PvP has two choices at the moment: quick play or competitive. Each has their own unique rotation of modes to take part in. So unlike other Destiny titles, or even different games, you cannot specify which game type you want to play. This restriction is a put off for me personally. On top of that, I personally am not a fan of the 4v4 game modes. 4 first-person shooters, 4v4 feels too little. The game modes as a result are long, drawn out and boring. Because of the low amount of players too, if there is a weak link in your team, then you're unlikely to win. If you do enjoy PvP though, Bungie are bringing back PvP focused modes such as the Trials of 9 and also Iron Banner. Destiny 2 looks gorgeous. The character designs, environments, voice acting and especially the soundtrack are all top tier. Character models are well done, with each bit of gear being highly stylized. Facial animations are great in cutscenes, gun models feel and sound like they would in your imagination, and rarely did I experience any sort of graphical glitch. The environments, while limited to 4 zones, are each unique. If you jump into a strike you will be easily able to tell which of the 4 planets or moons it's located on. Earth for me is probably the highlight out of the 4 current zones. The EDZ looks like a place that has been retaken by nature. Titan looks like an abandoned oil rig in a rainy water world. Nessus is a strange and alien place with its red vegetation and Vex influences, and Io is a dusty environment that has links to the Traveller. Each was fun and enjoyable to explore while it lasted. Voice acting was also done well. Returning Firefly cast members Nathan Fillion as Cade and Gina Torres as Ikora brought a sense of familiarity to the Vanguard characters. Fillion in particular steals the show. That being said though, all the cast do their jobs well and help add to the story of Destiny 2. Finally, I have to acknowledge the superb soundtrack. With Destiny 2, Bungie have given us a soundtrack that is epic and really helps add to the tension of the story. Overall, Destiny 2 was fun. I enjoyed playing it, and I'm still enjoying most PvE elements the game has to offer. The story was entertaining while it lasted, and if you put aside the fact you are not a unique Guardian, and that every other player has experienced being the story hero, you may enjoy it a little bit more. The gameplay, as I said, is solid, at least when it comes to combat. Gunplay is finely tuned and merges well with the few abilities your Guardian has. While I wish the abilities and classes played a much bigger role, I understand that they are simply there to supplement the gunplay, which is at the forefront of combat. The PvE elements have been improved upon since the original Destiny. While still not perfect, there is a lot more to entertain you. Even if you are a solo player, you can still find something to do. If you do have a group of friends to play with though, doing the Nightfall or raids will be your endgame goals, at least until the expansions come out. PvP for me was the worst area. I did not enjoy it, and it's doubtful I will be going back to it regularly. While some players may say I'm bad at the game, it's not that. I'm adequate at Destiny, but the reduction in player counts and the focus on smaller, careful firefights made PvP dull for me. I can understand that this is what some players may be looking for, but it's just not for me. Destiny 2's presentation is another area that shines. With wonderfully designed worlds, characters, models and more, it's a joy to behold, especially when particle effects or sunsets hit your screen at the right angle. I just wish there were more planets to explore. My biggest concern for Destiny 2 though is its longevity. Whilst I had a solid blast playing it for the few weeks since its launch, I'm worried if this is going to be the same in a month or two's time. I can recommend Destiny 2. If you enjoyed the first Destiny, then you probably have picked up Destiny 2 already. That being said though, I cannot give it my highest recommendation. This is because if you are not willing to keep up with Bungie and Activision's expansions for Destiny 2, then the game will be on a shortened lifespan for you. If trends that happened with the original Destiny happen with Destiny 2, then when expansions are released, some content may become locked, so you really need to consider this before picking up Destiny 2. This all being said, it feels that if Destiny was released in a similar form to what we got with Destiny 2, then I think the game would have got a lot more higher praise. Anyway, I've been Darcblade, bringing my video review of Destiny 2. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.